What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the AFC preview show. We're going to talk about the East and the West. My name is Ashmir Prasad, and thanks everyone for joining us. I have a squad here, and that is not an understatement. There will be 6 of us talking about 8 teams. And I first off want to kick off saying hello to everyone. How is everyone doing? I have not done a show with this many people since the NFL draft. So,
pretty good. How are you?
Everyone's doing good.
Just ready to have some healthy conversations about the Knicks.
Oh, aren't we all? Monty and I are Ducks fans, okay? We will be on your side a little bit.
I said healthy, not.
Part where I apologize that Michael Penix was my Heisman winner. Anyway.
Don't apologize for that.
I didn't know how sensitive the Oregon folk were about it. That's all I'm saying. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. I don't think Bo Nix should have won it, so I'm okay with that. But anyways, that's a conversation for another day. I want to talk, let's just kick it off with the AFC East. There's a lot of talk about it. There's so much change that's happened there, and it's a crazy, fun, quirky division that deserves a lot of conversation. So I think we'll start with the best team, according to everyone else, which is the New York Jets. And we've got Aaron Rodgers returning after last year. We saw what happened. And I'm curious to hear, we'll start with Brock first. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the Jets overall before we dive into any specifics.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where the hype behind the Jets comes from. They've been an absolute dumpster fire of a franchise since 2010. And just because they have Aaron Rodgers, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to produce. One, there's no guarantee anyone is going to be able to stay healthy in the NFL, as we saw last year with Aaron Rodgers. They play on one of the worst fields in the NFL that has taken out multiple football players across the league for the past 5-6 seasons. And quite frankly, this is an organization that has a coaching staff that I'm not necessarily confident in. I think Robert Saleh has a bit bigger of an ego than we like to talk about. I think Nathaniel Hackett is a really awful offensive coordinator. And just because you throw in a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, whose talent is supposed to elevate this team, let's not forget that his last year in Green Bay, they went, 9-8 and missed the playoffs. They lost their last game to Detroit. And then the year after with Jordan Love, Green Bay not only goes to the playoffs, they absolutely smoke the Cowboys in Dallas. And then obviously they had that great game against the 49ers. So it seems that Aaron Rodgers leaving helped elevate the Packers. How does that give anyone the confidence that him joining the Jets now in year 2 with all these issues that we hear, that they're going to be great, especially when you still have the Bills and you still have the Dolphins, and who knows what the Patriots are going to be. So long story short, I am not that high on the Jets. I think that Jets fans are in for another pretty terrible season.
All right, the Jets have not won 10 games since 2015. Does anyone in this conversation feel like this year is the year that can happen?
I think that, when you look at the NFL, right, and you look at just roster talent on the roster, San Francisco obviously has a dominant roster. I think the Eagles do. I think the Ravens do. I think Pro Football Focus has the Jets ranked 5th, offense and defense. But Brock brings up a good point. I grew up a Jet fan, so I grew up a Jet fan, so I know this all too well. Losing organizations, what they do is they give the keys to the franchise to an outsider. The Knicks do this all the time, right? The Knicks don't draft players and develop them. They just go for free agents and they overpay them. Aaron Rodgers made over $40 million last year. He played less than 5 minutes. He brings in Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, his guys. They did nothing. He brings in Nathaniel Hackett. Keith could attest to this. One of the worst play callers and head coaches in NFL history. It's almost impossible to get fired after 1 year in the NFL. But if you just look at talent, if you just look at the talent that the Jets have, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to be a top 10 quarterback, 40 years old, coming off a horrific injury that no one touched him, right? Again, Brock mentioned the turf, the worst turf in the NFL. But talent-wise, if Aaron Rodgers can be equivalent to what Tom Brady was when he went to Tampa, that team was stacked. Tom Brady just didn't turn the ball over and got players to buy in. The difference there is Tom Brady, during COVID, went to high schools, illegally practiced, met with the guys all the time. Aaron Rodgers missed the only mandatory minicamp that they had because he was on vacation. And just a few weeks before that, Aaron Rodgers said, we need to cut out all the BS that goes on in the Jets locker room that has nothing to do with football. Talent-wise, the Jets are as good as any team, but what they're lacking is we don't know how good Aaron Rodgers is going to be, and we know this. If they get off to a bad start, Aaron Rodgers is a classic bully. When things are going well, he's a great teammate. When things aren't going well, he's not a great teammate. But talent-wise alone, they should win 11 games, or their head coach will be fine.
Oh, so you do think they'll win over 10?
I think they're going to go 11-6, yes.
Okay. All right, Kyle, saw you doing some head movements in the back. Why don't you tap in?
And listen, there's a lot of good points that was just dropped there. But listen, I think what's interesting, the comparison being made to the Knicks there is fun, too. I'm going to go over to the Brooklyn Nets side. We're trying to figure out if, in fact, Aaron Charles Rodgers there is actually Kevin Durant and has become injury-prone and a guy who can't be a leader anymore, right? And let me tell you, that's not me dissing your point. That's just me augmenting it by taking it to where the Nets used to be based, New Jersey, which is closer to East Rutherford anyway. I make my jokes, but nonetheless, for all the points being made, let's get out here and actually talk a little bit about what is working for the Jets. Garrett Wilson, absolute talent. They've augmented the offense around that. I could probably ask for more at the running back position beyond Breece Hall, but if we're going to talk about injury possibilities, let's remember Breece Hall's missed significant time a lot too. And remember that the point made about Tom Brady was brilliant, and that's a fine goal to make. But what Tom Brady had that everybody seems to forget because nobody likes the offensive line was he had a great offensive line in Tampa. And no sooner were they injury-ridden the next year than Tom Brady was beaten into retirement. So I think all those things are in play. And also the linemen that they brought in, by the way, on the green monster that is this Jets turf over there at MetLife, right? They're all going to be injury risks in and of themselves. Why? Because they already have injuries stacked in their careers. And by the way, on the twilight of it, I know you pulled from elements of that once great and elite Cowboys line, and other bad boys came in to protect one Aaron Charles Rodgers. But at day's end, if they don't last, you won't last. Frankly, if they make it through game one without Rodgers being hurt, if I'm a Jets fan, I'm considering a win. Let's stop blaming Robert Saleh for Tim Boyle among your quarterback group, okay? I don't need a guy that went to UConn in my quarterback group. Just saying.
Keith, you want to touch on it?
Yeah, I'll simplify it even more. And people don't like to say this or hear this about Aaron Rodgers, but it's true. How many Super Bowls has Aaron Rodgers been to? I can count on one finger the number of Super Bowls Aaron Rodgers has been to. And they didn't just bring in Aaron Rodgers to sell tickets and get fans at the stadium. They brought him in with the idea of winning a Super Bowl. And at this age, with the roster that they have, it's just not happening. Maybe they do win more than 10 games. They'll get a participation sticker for that. But that's not why they brought in Aaron Rodgers. They brought in Aaron Rodgers to make deep playoff runs and get to the Super Bowl. I, for one, don't think they're the best team in that division. I think the best team in that division is the Dolphins, but we'll go to that later. But Aaron Rodgers plays on a bad field, has been running up. He's too old. They did bring in some receiver help with Mike Williams, but he has injury concerns of his own coming out of last season. There's just too many ifs for that team to be as successful as everyone wants them to be.
Yeah,
But
and let me just
go
add,
ahead.
I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they could make the playoffs just based on their roster. Their talent on defense and offense, as you mentioned, Garrett Williams, their running back, the wide receiving core. They do have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. Again, I think Pro Football Focus have them ranked 5th talent-wise. So the only thing the Jets have missed for decades is a serviceable quarterback who can make plays. Chad Pennington was just voted as the Jets' greatest quarterback of all time.
Wow.
Chad effing Pennington. Really, fans?
About Mark Sanchez.
Come on.
Oh, this guy.
So I think they'll be good, but I don't think they make the playoffs. I mean, I don't think they win a Super Bowl.
I was going to say, you already said it, that they have a nice defense. So the entire thing could come together slowly but surely. I think to close things out, what are your guys' impression of the receiving core for the Jets?
I mean, fantastic if they could
It'll be
stay healthy.
good, but
Yeah.
it's about Aaron Rodgers getting him the ball. They got Garrett Wilson, and they have a good receiving core. It's just all about Aaron Rodgers getting the ball. Is he going to buy in? That's the thing. Like you said, I agree with Brock and Monty, what they said about him taking vacations and not missing mandatory minicamp and, going to Egypt. Like, it doesn't make any sense. He's not buying in like Brady bought in. He went to he took those receivers that he had, that stacked team in Tampa in 2020, and worked with them illegally, like Monty said. And Aaron Rodgers isn't doing that. So I think the Jets receivers are good. The question is, can Aaron Rodgers buy in with them and get him the ball?
I'm going to take the non-traditional stance here. And in all things normally being said, I'm more than happy to throw Aaron Charlie Rodgers under the bus. I got no problem with that. But we've already forgotten that Tom Brady missed time in minicamp too. And if you hear the reports, both of them went to the franchise ahead of time. The Jets, being a franchise of questionable acumen, shall we say, their communications team simply said, yeah, we didn't support him doing that. Rather than backing their new quarterback and being like, he let us know, all this other stuff, and just making it less of a story, they leaned into that beast and fed the biggest media market in the nation the story they wanted so they could get their clickbait. That was more about the Jets failing, not Aaron Charles Rodgers failing. Please, let's remember, Tom Brady took time away as well. Whether it was for family or vacation isn't the point. Neither indicates a lack of buy-in when you understand the circumstance.
But the difference is, Aaron Rodgers just said this week that preseason doesn't mean anything. And here's the thing. He's coming off an injury. Don't you want to develop chemistry? Tom Brady won numerous Super Bowls in New England. He went there with the pedigree. He worked in the offseason during COVID with the guys. So if he took a couple of days off, yeah, I'm sure certain people, but they're like, hey, this guy's got rings. Keith said it. He's got the same amount of rings as Trent Dilfer. He's got the same amount of rings as Brad Johnson. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I say I'm going to play in preseason. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Oh, no, I was going to say, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I want to develop chemistry. One thing about Tom Brady, everyone who played for him, they knew that this guy was all in. Aaron Rodgers is not all in. And when you're the quarterback, you have to be that guy.
Yep.
I wish I could do the snaps. Like if there was a snap sound, I'm going to get that for next time because I feel like Aaron Rodgers is acting very selfish and he's coming off of a huge injury that could change the Jets franchise for the better. And he's not taking advantage of that by bonding with this team. He's only friends with Sauce Gardner. Like you guys are not playing at the same time, right? Like make it make sense. Mesh up with your other guys. Okay. We could talk about Aaron Rodgers all day because
I was about to interrupt the poetry slam there too. Because if you didn't expect that from Aaron Charles Rodgers going into this, that is also a Jets mistake.
Let me just say one more thing about Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers' apologists' biggest beef has always been the team does not provide him with quality weapons. What are the Jets doing? Providing him with quality weapons. So instead of building chemistry with them, he's going to go smoke a bowl in Egypt. I think that's all you have to say about Aaron Rodgers.
Listen, guys, let me be clear. I did not have Aaron Rodgers stand on my bingo card tonight. Of reasons to be critical of Aaron Rodgers. This ain't it, guys. Okay? The injury concerns, check. The fact that his last time on the field as a Packer was probably one of his most mediocre years of his career, check. A couple days in minicamp and chemistry. Other than Mike Williams and maybe a rookie or two, who is he really missing? We forget he's got a year of practice with these guys already, and granted for a portion of it he was hurt, but he still had time. Some chemistry is there. It's not like it's from, Agent Zero here, okay? Being said, I would like to see him get a bit more chemistry with Mike Williams. That'd be nice if he's going to be the other weapon. But there's also an element, when you've been playing football, as long as those guys have been playing football, and if Mike Williams is already familiar with elements of the scheme, a lot of that takes care of itself. I don't mean to be this guy, but yeah, if you're going to get on Aaron Charles Rodgers' case, There's other stuff that's a much bigger deal, in my opinion.
And I will say this, look how good the Packers offense was with a first-year starter
Great
because
point.
Jordan Love spread the ball around.
Mhm.
Aaron Rodgers wants to throw to his guys over and over again. He's so stubborn. That's why they kept Hackett, because Aaron Rodgers could muscle him and bully him and tell him, I'm doing this, like it or not. And Hackett is so weak. He wants a job. He's going to hang on to Aaron Rodgers' coattails. But Matt LaFleur and what the Packers did with that offense, the youngest offense in the league, went to the playoffs, laid the smackdown on Dallas. Sorry, Greg. But let's be honest, the Packers offense is much better without Aaron Rodgers. So to your point, yes, there are a lot of question marks with him, but I still think he's good enough to get them to 11 wins if healthy.
Chemistry is so overrated, gentlemen. I just want to add that out there. Like, me and my ex had chemistry, and that clearly didn't work out. I'm sorry. Like, chemistry is great when the good times are rolling, but when you're 4-4 entering week 9, things are gonna break. You have 3 gentlemen, the head coach, the GM, and the quarterback, that all want to be the man, and they don't know how to step back or delegate or do anything else, and that's going to lead to a breakdown of the relationship. I know we got to move on, but I just want to add that right out there. Chemistry, very overrated.
Okay, do we all get the Aaron Rodgers mess off of our chest? I think I started it, so.
See, again, I feel bad for interrupting the poetry slam, Ash. That's my bad.
No. I'm probably going to be snapping at you guys the whole show because you're all going to, there's so many people. Facts are going to be spit. You know what I mean? We're going to talk about the Bills next. And of course, the biggest conversation was losing Stephon Diggs and how that is going to make the Bills better or worse. And I'm first want to hear, are the Bills equal without Stephon Diggs? Are they worse? What are your predictions for that? They've got a huge gap to fill. Keith, kick us off.
Absolutely worse. Diggs was the most consistent receiver they've had on that team for the past 2 or 3 seasons. He, outside of Dawson Knox, Diggs was one person that Josh Allen could go to when he absolutely needed a play made. They don't have that anymore. They are still questionable in their run game, where James Cook should be doing very well in that run game. But for some reason, they still depend heavily on Josh Allen as far as doing everything. He's very talented. He's a big guy. He doesn't get hurt very often, but if you keep putting the ball in someone's hand for literally like 150% of the plays, you're begging for something to go wrong. And that's where losing Stephon Diggs is going to hurt, because if he's not comfortable with the receivers, he's going to tuck and run, and that is just begging for a season-ending injury to happen. I mean, their roster really didn't get better. They got rid of Diggs. They didn't really do a whole lot to replace him. I mean, they got Curtis Samuel, the law firm Marquez Valdez-Scantling. That's not Stephon Diggs. I mean, he is going to struggle. Like I said in our MBS chat a few times, this is the year if we really find out if Josh Allen was him. If he can win them or lead them to a division title, lead them on a deep playoff run without Stephon Diggs, then he's him. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, and I agree, honestly, because, like, if you think about it, Josh Allen needed that number 1 receiver. He got it with Stephon Diggs, and now with Diggs gone, I think they're going to be worse too. I agree, because you need that number 1 guy, and they don't have that number 1 guy anymore. They probably have a bunch of 2s and 3s, and Josh Allen isn't that type of quarterback that can make players around him better like Mahomes can. So in my opinion, they're worse.
So they've got a different offensive coordinator. Is this going to change anything in the way that the Bills look offensively? You think it's a pro for them? Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they made the change last year to change to their approach in offense in general, which is oddly enough taking the ball out of Josh Allen's hands and have them be more conservative with it. Listen, I was the guy 2 years ago, or 3 or however many it was. I'm losing count because we're in the offseason. We haven't started a new season yet, right? But the punchline is, when Stephon Diggs left Minnesota, off the bat, I went on the air this time last year, literally the month of August, and said that Stephon Diggs would be the Bills' offensive MVP, and suddenly Josh Allen would get better. And that's what happened. And now that Stephon Diggs is gone, listen, I love Moneyball too. The point that Brad Pitt's character makes about replacing Giambi in the aggregate was beautiful and great movie making. I don't see the Bills making up for Stephon Diggs in the aggregate. And we also forget, by the way, not for nothing, and maybe I'm biased toward it because I covered the Jacksonville Jaguars on SI. Bing! But all that being said, Mitch Morris, they don't have their old center anymore. Gabe Davis, say what you will about him as a receiver and missing time for injury and things like that. Here's what I know. 1 in 6 passes to Gabe Davis caught were a touchdown. 1 in 11 targets to Gabe Davis is a touchdown. Those numbers are ridiculous. I don't care what Pro Football Focus says, okay? At the end of the day, they're not as good as a roster period, and Josh Allen needs to show me more. Matter of fact, he's not even a top 5 quarterback for me anymore right now until he shows me something.
Does anyone want to follow up?
I mean, I think he thinks I'm crazy.
No, I just was thinking of someone who used to work with the company who would be having a fit right now. But
no.
But I mean, I think he remains
I'm
one of the top 5 talented quarterbacks in the NFL. Based on last year, you still have to say going into the season he's still a top 5 quarterback, but that could easily change by the time we hit midway in the season.
I mean, I'm not trying to, be Josh Allen's number 1 fan, but I don't think that there's a debate that right now he's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. I mean, when it turns into the 3 things that you matter most, availability, ability, and attitude, he has A+ on all those marks. So I'm not really concerned about Josh Allen. And quite frankly, if I'm being honest, I think the Bills are better without Stephon Diggs. Yes, you're losing a tremendous amount of talent, but like I was saying before, chemistry is kind of overrated, and we were hearing stories about their chemistry, about how they would play video games together and they would be best of friends. But we saw at the end, well, for years now, but especially at the end of last season, that chemistry was no longer there. Does it really matter if you have a section in the club and you got bottles popping if your girl is cussing you out in the corner? Like, it's just not. This doesn't work that way. And Stephon Diggs was like always mad at Josh Allen and always blaming somebody else and always doing this and always doing that. So now Josh Allen has weapons around him that have bought into his play style, what he does. And I think that's going to be really good for the Buffalo Bills. They have an offensive coordinator that finally has an offseason to figure things out. And then, I think things are going to be a lot better. So I think the Bills are going to be in a better position.
Brock, I respect that you didn't have Josh Allen stand on your bingo card, but isn't this the dude that just told us all that chemistry isn't that big a deal?
That's what I was just thinking.
What are you doing?
I think Brock just went through a bad breakup.
Yeah, he's mentioned it twice now.
Relationship stuff. No, so my thing with the Buffalo Bills is this is a vertical passing league, right? The last leading rusher in the NFL to win a Super Bowl was Terrell Davis with the Denver Broncos in 1998. We see what C.J. Stroud, they bring on, even though they have a ton of weapons, they bring in Stephon Diggs. We see in San Francisco, they surround Brock Purdy with so much talent. You can't have enough wide receivers in this league. Again, this is a vertical passing league. I don't know if the Bills are going to revert back to playing 1985 ground and pound. That works well against the Kansas City Chiefs because you want to keep that prolific offense on the sideline. But I don't think they have enough up front. I don't think they have enough depth at running back. I look at Cook like I look at Swift for the Eagles last year. He'd have 10 carries in the first half for 80 yards, and then they abandoned the running game. So I don't understand what their identity is. If I'm Josh Allen, I'm kind of pissed off because you look around the league and you see how certain teams have 2, 3, 4 wide receivers, and we don't have a legitimate number 1.
I mean, it's like a now or never time, right, for the Bills. And so this is really the Josh Allen. I'm not going to say that.
It might be now or never for McDermott, Ash. I don't know about the Bills.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
I will say this. Josh Allen can compensate for the loss of Stephon Diggs if and only if one thing happens. He's absolutely has to cut down the turnovers.
Sure.
He hurt that team so badly, Stephon Diggs or not, with costly turnovers and big moments of just about every big game they had. it still won't make up for it completely. But if he can eliminate the turnovers, that will make Stephon Diggs being gone hurt less. But his turnovers have been increasing every year, so I can't say that they can be confident in that.
Let me build on that, Keith, too. If he tries to do too much with Keon Coleman coming in as his brand new toy to the guy that's going to be the one that tries to be that extended down the field, a guy if they use him the way I think he's going to, do I have faith in Keon Coleman? I see the comment there. In him, maybe, but not in season one and not with an unpolished quarterback like Josh Allen. I think he's going to need some time to be worked with before he gets to be prolific. And, man, listen, I'm actually kind of daring them. If I'm a defense prepared to face Josh Allen, I'm daring them to throw the ball down the field right now because chances are my guys can keep a rookie in check.
I think you guys are definitely doubting the Buffalo Bills way too much. I think Dalton Kincaid is going to take a massive step up this year, so he's going to have an elite tight end one. And the Kansas City Chiefs have showed us you don't need an elite wide receiver core to be successful. They traded away the number one player in the NFL right by his peers, right? And they got better. They won 2 straight Super Bowls after that. Or, after everything went down. So I think Buffalo is in a perfect position. They were doubted last year. They ended up winning the division. And they won the division for the past 5 years. I think everything is already in Buffalo. Now, what happens playoff time? That's a different story. But for regular season, I have zero concerns with the Bills. I think losing Stephon Diggs is actually going to be a benefit. And if we see any type of issue set to arise in Houston, it's only going to be one guy to blame. And that's going to be Stephon Diggs.
So if Josh Allen is,
but hold on, you're bringing up the Kansas City Chiefs when they lost Tyreek Hill. They have the best offensive mind in the game in Andy Reid. Sean McDermott is no Andy Reid. Sean McDermott is basically Rex Ryan.
Yeah, but you have a guy there that was one of the architects behind one of the greatest collegiate offenses of all time. And as we've seen, it was a 5-year gap from what we see in college when it finally translates and is successful to the NFL. Again, I think that
I'm just saying. You're saying Sean McDermott is no Andy Reid. His offensive game plan is sophomoric at best. That's the biggest problem. When they're trailing, it's just Josh Allen drop back, run, and create something.
And McDermott is no Reid. Kincaid is no Travis Kelce. Josh Allen is no Patrick Mahomes II.
That's the biggest point right there.
The gap between Mahomes and Allen is
but
not
unfortunately,
as big as
your comparison to a team that's about to three-peat may be the wrong direction.
It's not a comparison. It's just a statement saying that you don't have to have an elite wide receiver core to be successful in the NFL.
You don't necessarily have to have an elite wide receiver.
I think in today's football, you do. You need a wide receiver one.
I don't think you need to have an elite wide receiving core. You need to have someone who can make your wide receivers better.
Yeah. Look at Tua with Tyreek Hill.
Look at Devontae.
You need one elite target. I think Kincaid becomes that target this year, is what I'm trying to tell you.
The problem with the Bills is for them to win, Josh Allen always has to be the best player on the field, and he never is in the playoffs.
I think that ties in with Keith. The turnovers were his biggest downfall last year.
Right.
He had a game in the bag. He's throwing it into the end zone to the ghost of Aaron Rodgers, and that's just a mistake on his own part. All right, let's wrap up the Bills and come to their biggest challenge I think, in the division, which is the Miami Dolphins, who have not won the division since 2008. So I think in this time, it is now or never for the Dolphins, because they've got one of the best offenses in the league. Tua is a happy quarterback with his happy coach, and he's talking about how everything is so good in Miami. So I'm curious to hear from you, Steve. What is the Achilles heel of the Miami Dolphins this year?
The Achilles heel, I would say, is I think the Dolphins are going to win the division. I think Mike McDaniel, he had such an offensive mind. He's, like you said, the offensive guru with Tua. Him and Tua have really got this great bond, and now he's got the Tyreek Hill and get that offense going. I would say it's Mike McDaniel. I think I think the Dolphins are going to win the division, and the Patriots always are not good in Miami as well. And with the AFC East such a mess, except really the Dolphins really staying to where they were kind of a year ago. I would say the.
Oh, we lost him on Achilles heel.
Well, I'll pick Steve back up because I do want him to answer this if he hears me right now. Not that his point is bad, but how is a dude with Gillette Stadium in the background not mention the Dolphins' defense? I mean, you come from a franchise that has how many Hall of Famers that helped Tom Brady get great, okay? Their defense is horrific already, and then they got rid of Christian Wilkins.
Yep.
Oh, my God. So the best way to stop Miami is to just keep that dynamic offense off the field and run the ball, because who are they going to use to stop it? If the team has a run game already, the Dolphins are going to be in a situation where offense has to be perfect. Now, I get it. You got the cheetah and Waddle on the other side, and Tua's good enough to facilitate. Game manager should not be a quarterback slur. There's nothing wrong with it. And I think that's how the Dolphins would have to beat teams that beat up their defense as such.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think the Dolphins' Achilles heel have nothing to do with what they're going to do on the field. It's a product they have on the field. How they constructed this team is like me constructing a team in Madden, but I'm just sitting on defense, and hopefully my team gets 1 or 2 turnovers a game because I'm putting up 63, a game. Like, their defense, as you already mentioned, is already poor. Their corner, Jalen Ramsey's a year older, and he's had injury issues. Christian Wilkins is no longer there. Jalen Phillips is trying to come back off, a torn ACL, if I'm not mistaken. Bradley Chubb is on the other end, who's, getting up there in age. He's not old yet, but you don't know how long he has left in the tank. You have a new defensive coordinator this year. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that, 3 DCs in 3 years or 2 DCs in 3 years for Mike McDaniel? And quite frankly, I still haven't forgotten what happened when Tua's first year with McDaniel, when he clearly had a concussion. Not the Bills game, but the Bengals game. And McDaniel tried to play it off like, oh, he's all good. And, oh, we're watching movies on the plane. I honestly think that there's a lot of things that he does not reveal to us that have caused issues and fractions in that locker room. Their defense is atrocious. It almost feels like Dan Marino all over again. How they can put up many points per game, but when it comes to the playoffs, they just don't have the defense to be able to sustain a winning effort. I don't think Miami's actually going to win the division this year. I think they get into the playoffs again, but I think that they're going to find themselves hard-pressed come November and December to find wins.
Well, because it'll be cold too, remember that. Go ahead, Marky.
That's another big reason as well.
So they're 27-12, the Dolphins are, when it's over 60 degrees. They're 1-7 when it's under 30 degrees. Here's my comparison to the Dolphins. When Chip Kelly was at Oregon with my Ducks, they were just the fastest show on turf. Fast, boom, and then Harbaugh got to figure out how to play smash mouth football, how to ground and pound, and how to just be physical. The Dolphins are like Sugar Ray Leonard or any great boxer. They're going to jab you, wear you down with quick hits. They're going to score. But when the game gets ugly, when the game gets physical, they're not going to be able to compete. Again, 27-12 when it's over 50 degrees. Tua is 1-7. And part of the reason is he doesn't have super arm strength. So when it's windy in Buffalo, when it's windy at MetLife Stadium, everyone just presses up because they can't throw it over the top. He could do that in Miami. And what Joe just made a great point. If they can win a game on a road, or if they could clinch and get home field advantage throughout, and all the games go through Miami and play in an indoor warm weather stadium or indoor in the Super Bowl, they'll be fine. But like Brock said, they're all offense, no defense. And yes, offense now wins championships, but the reason why the Kansas City Chiefs have been so successful last year is their defense carried them. When has the Miami Dolphins defense ever carried Tua and the Dolphins?
Monty, that was a strong segment and take right there, bro. You were all over you were even an Oregon fan that acknowledged smash mouth football slows them down. I've seen no other Duck fan acknowledge that. I'm excited for you, dude. Thank you.
This Dolphins team,
I've grown. I've matured.
This Dolphins team reminds me a lot. Maybe not as good, because that team was just ridiculous, but a lot of the Broncos team that played in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks. Absolutely amazing offense. Can score with anyone. Looked amazing all regular season. They even looked good in the postseason. But they came up against a team that had a superior defense and a good enough offense. And I think there's more than enough teams in the AFC. Even if by some miracle if they get to the Super Bowl, there's enough good teams in the NFC that have better defenses that their offense is just good enough. That's where they sit with Miami right now. I mean, they made up for it last season. They averaged more points on offense and defense by 6 points. I don't know if they can duplicate that again.
Just to give everyone an idea, the Miami first 4 games are Jags, Bills, Seahawks, Titans. So
Bills Thursday, by the way.
Wow.
Short turnaround after dealing with the Jets.
yes,
Are they playing
Thursday,
Jacksonville in
4-0.
London? If they're playing Jacksonville in London, it's a wrap.
Yeah, it's not in week 1. They don't go to London. Good point though. Hey, listen, I think the Jags go 2-0 again in London. I'm just saying. I know that was Tuesday's show, Ash. My bad. Somebody said it. I had to respond.
no, that's okay. Okay, so I think to close it out, what is the record for the Dolphins from everyone? Round table. Steve, you could go first.
So I would say 10-7. Yep, 10-7.
All right, Brock.
9-8.
Ooh, Kyle.
I mean, 10-7 and 9-8 are both good. I'm looking at it here. I think I have 10 or 11. Yeah.
All right, Keith.
If, and I'm using a big if here, if Odell Beckham Jr. could play at least half of the games, I think they go 11-6 again.
That's a good point.
All right, Monty, to close it out.
I give them 10-11 wins. Definitely. I think they're a good enough regular season team. A lot like my Packers back in the day with Aaron Rodgers. Very good in the regular season, but fall short in the playoffs.
All right, we finally get to talk about everyone's favorite team in the NFL, the New England Patriots, and their new boy, Drake May. My first question is, if you are on that team, are you giving Drake May the starting spot? Yes or no, Keith?
Not to start the season, no. And that's not a bad thing against Drake May. I know everyone is of the mindset that if you draft a quarterback in the first round, you need to start them. I have never been a big fan of that. I will never be a big fan of that. Just because you draft him in the first round, you at least want him to feel comfortable on the field. There's not a whole lot about this Patriots team that I don't think is going to make him feel comfortable right now. I mean, you want him to get some time on the field, but I mean, one or two things can happen. And we see it a lot with first-round quarterbacks that start immediately. They start immediately and they work through it, or they start immediately and they get crushed, and their career is never the same. And there's no reason to make him start from the beginning right now. If they're down a bunch in games, throw him in there. If Brissett is just not getting it done, you're about 10 games deep in the season, okay, yeah, start him some games. But I don't feel like they have the urgency right now to just throw him out there to the wolves.
All right. I'm going to give anyone else the opportunity to answer. Let's go to Kyle.
Hey, listen, for me, you mentioned a lack of urgency, Keith. I'm pretty sure the people up there in Foxborough are going to disagree with you, but I hear where you're coming from. And you happen to be absolutely right. Anybody remember that Patrick Mahomes II sat behind Alex Smith, for example? Just throwing that out there, right? No, but that all being said, man, listen, you're asking the wrong guy if you want Drake May support. Of course you start Jacoby Brissett. But I think it's because you made the mistake of drafting another ACC quarterback like Sam Howell, okay? You want to know why Sam Howell's a problem? The L's in his name match what he is as a quarterback starter, and now everybody's believing me when I tried to tell them in the draft last year. Now the question is, can Drake May lose how many games? That's the dad joke this year for the ACC quarterback that shouldn't have been drafted. Listen, I'm not saying it's Bryce Young bad, but it was pretty bad for you to draft him. I'm not saying it's Zach Wilson's bad, but I tried to warn people about him too. Listen, guys, Drake May is not it, and if he's going to be, he needs development to do that. And I don't even know how you get that in a group that's coached once again by a defensive guy in Mayo right now in Foxborough there. That's a problem for me. And then his best weapon right now is UCF's Javon Baker. Is this what we're doing? Listen, don't throw a rookie in that situation. Do what Miami did. Put Ryan Fitzpatrick and split time with Tua so you actually work a guy up in a situation where he won't just get the hell beat out of it. He'll get some experience, but he'll also be protected enough to be around next year and actually remember and retain some of the things he was taught as he's getting tossed around by one of the best defensive tackle corps in the league in Buffalo when they play them twice, just as an example.
All right, let's flip the script here. I'm going to ask Brock and Monty, Jacoby Brissett is QB1, let's say. What are some things you can look forward to when he's taking the field for that Pats offense?
A high draft pick in 2025. Or Jacoby Brissett. Like, Brissett good, as in, like, he's a good backup. I think he'll win you some games if you have a competent team. But with this kind of roster and this young coaching staff, it's a wrap if you decide to go with Jacoby Brissett. And that's kind of why I'm going back and forth on the whole Drake May situation. Brissett doesn't really give you anything that's helpful this season except better opportunity at picking better players and maybe seeing who else can cut from the team in order to fill some cap space. But if you go out and try out Jacoby Brissett without a plan to put Drake May in within the first 5 weeks, just, enjoy the season for what it can be. And what it will be is an opportunity to get one of the premier college football players next season.
All right, Monty, I want to hear your thoughts as well.
Okay, so let's just say it out loud like adults. You have Tua, you have Aaron Rodgers, and you have Josh Allen. And what does New England have? Jacoby Brissett, fourth best quarterback in the division. Let me throw out some names there for you. Aaron Rodgers, 6-10 his first year as an official starter, got his ass kicked, didn't affect him, learned, got better. Troy Aikman, 1-15 as a starter in Dallas, didn't affect him, learned, and got better. You see C.J. Stroud last year. By the way, C.J. Stroud was probably the best player in the NFL the second half of the season. He was unstoppable. You've seen Justin Herbert literally get called to start 30 minutes before the game because a freak happened to the starting quarterback, never looked back. What are we doing in New England if we're not starting Drake May? What are we telling our fans? We're going to slowly bring them along. You're not going to win 4 games with Jacoby Brissett or Drake May. Show what he has. Let him go through the lumps. Again, Troy Aikman was 1-15. Aaron Rodgers was 6-10. With the success of young quarterbacks right now, it's sink or swim. And here's what I want to see. I want him to play the whole year, and then you make a decision when you're in the top 3 of a draft pick next year if you're going to draft a quarterback or not. Because sitting in for 8 games and then having come in with a limited playbook and not knowing what's going on, it doesn't do the franchise any good, especially because you're going to suck.
Yeah, Monty, but let's not act like there's not a clear correlation between first-year rookie starting quarterbacks and their offensive coordinators. There's success stories we see that they all have competent or excellent coaching staff. And the figure is they all have horrific coaching staffs. I think that Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud is the best example. C.J. Stroud came into a situation where they had a strong-minded head coach and then Michael Ryan. They had a brilliant offensive coordinator and Bobby Slovic. If I'm not mistaken, he came from the Sean McVay School of Offensive Play Calling. And they had a coaching staff that was experienced. Bryce Young came into a situation where his offense coordinator, I don't think had ever been a coordinator before. His quarterback coach had never been a coach before. And he was thrown out there and he absolutely got torn up. So if New England has a competent coaching staff, which I'm not exactly sure they do yet, yeah, sure, they may in. I mean, if not, they're just getting him to the wolves. Justin Herbert had Shane Steichen. Who are the other examples of great quarterbacks that came in? Kyler Murray had Cliff Kingsbury. These guys had coordinators that been there, done that. Does May really have that? I'm not exactly sure.
But Brock, also they just turned over their whole coaching staff because Belichick's not there. So if Robert Kraft doesn't believe in this coaching staff, then what the hell is he doing? Like, you got to start Drake May for the entire season. So next year, we all agree they're going to win 3 or 4 games. So next year you can say, hey, this guy got better the second half of the year. He showed some potential. We don't need to draft a quarterback and maybe trade down and stockpile picks. But what you're saying is 100% accurate. It's amazing to me that C.J. Stroud was so successful with a defensive-minded coach. But what you're saying is right on point. You need an offensive coordinator, an offensive-minded coach to develop it. But they just hired a new staff. So they believe, Robert Kraft believes that they're competent or he wouldn't hire them. So let this kid play. I don't see any upside to sitting him. Let him take his lumps and play the 17 games so you can make an honest evaluation at the end of the year.
Monty, you posed the question of what the upside is to sitting Drake May to start with. And again, if you want to forego the Patrick Lavon Mahomes, the second argument, I got no beef with you on that. But The best upside is to not ruin his psyche and turn him into Mark Sanchez or Zach Wilson or a guy who's seeing ghosts. You need to avoid that. I have every reason to believe right now that that's on the table for Drake May with what we see in preseason. You mentioned CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud was running a pro-style offense for a team that was dancing around and was in the talks for a national championship. Drake May was sort of winning-ish in the ACC. Those are apples and oranges, my friend, to compare his prospects. Drake May got built up, and somebody in that scouting office bought the hype. That's what went wrong there. And maybe.
But what I'm saying is,
coaching staff, they've
guys
blundered.
can't have it both ways. You can't say he's a first round pick, and we got a brand new coaching staff. But let's wait. You can't have it both ways. If he's a top tier first round pick, like the scouts believe, you got to play him like you play a CJ Stroud, like you play a
Bryce Young,
a Justin Herbert.
Hey, the other problem was this class, a lot of quarterbacks went quick too, right? There's that.
I couldn't tell you when I went quick.
Hey, Bo Nix is a good fit for you, though. Anyways, continue.
All right, Steve, I'm going to let you close out the conversation and let me know where you're at. No. So, for everyone watching on Team NBS Media, Steve writes on the Patriots. So this is his bread and butter, and he needs to tell us what he thinks.
So everyone is kind of forgetting who owns the Patriots right now or runs the Patriots. It's Elliott Wolf, who came from Green Bay. And I understand that Green Bay has a better quarterback developed system with Aaron Rodgers going from Brett Favre to Rodgers, from Rodgers to Jordan Love, right? So that was but Jacoby Brissett's not Jordan.
Oh, man, I was interested where he was going with that.
I know, me too.
He's right on point. Jacoby Brissett's a game manager.
And Drake
man, Steve.
All right, Steve.
No, but what I'm saying is, you're not sitting. First of all, Alex Smith made the playoffs. They won 11 games. He was a starting quarterback. So I understand, but everyone knew early on that Patrick Mahomes was going to take Alex Smith's place. He started the last game of the season, and guys were like, "We need to start this guy in the playoffs." There was actually some controversy there.
All right, we got to get back.
And you're not going up. You're not backing up Rodgers here like Jordan Love. You're not backing up Brett Favre.
No. So but my opinion though, that Jacoby's going to start the season, and I think he's going to start the year, and I think that Drake was probably going to play in 2025 because I think they want a number one receiver, which they don't even have right now, and the offensive line is trash. That offensive line is so bad, he's going to get killed. Yeah. So they don't want to get him killed in a Brett can put him in and out. Like, you can't do that. The Jacoby's going to start. He's the game manager. He knows Alex Van Pelt's system. He said it today. He's with the Browns, and he knows that system. It's fine. And then next year, they get a better offensive tackle, and they get a number one receiver, and then Drake will start. That's just my opinion.
It sounds terrible, but Jacoby Brissett is the sacrificial lamb this season.
It is bad.
I mean,
that's why I compared him to Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I mean, I understand the point, Monty, of like letting him get the game time experience, but what's the game time experience if he's injured in game 3 because the offensive line can't block for him? It's just not the right situation to just throw him out there. It's not even just that the team is bad. It's just that you drafted him in the first round to be your future, and he may not have a future if they throw him out there right now.
All right, everybody.
I will say this: people love Jacoby Brissett. Players love Jacoby Brissett. Players love Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's a hard situation to be in. They understand their role, and players they love those guys who are so professional, even though, like Keith said, they're sacrificial lambs.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Brock.
No, I just got to add real quick is what did Drake May do this offseason? He was in draft meetings. He was doing the combine, pro days, all that other stuff. He didn't have a full offseason to focus on his strength and development. So when he goes out there, he gets crushed by a 300-pound lineman. He's going to get shell-shocked. Sit him for a year. Allow him to have a year where he can actually put up the body, pay the punishment of the NFL, and then put him back out there. And before you have a kid out there gets absolutely torn in half by some of the most premier, linebackers and pass rushers and defensive linemen in the world.
That being said, I feel like Jacoby's going to take a hit, and Drake May will see time.
Like,
That's a
Yeah,
big
I'd feel the same
they
way.
might, yeah. Or they might sign another veteran to back up Jacoby, so Drake sits for the season.
Hot
Meaning they
take,
cut-
everyone. Hot
meaning
take,
they cut
everyone.
Chappie
I think
and put
it's
Milton
too-
on the practice squad.
Yes, Steve.
Tell them to bring Gardner Minshew over there.
He's already
Right.
starting, right?
He's there for the Raiders.
That's my roll into the West. We're going to take a quick break here before we start talking about the AFC West because Brock and I, Raider fans, we have a lot of things to say. So stay tuned, everyone. We will be right back.
In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: build a cooler we use every day if it existed. One that was built for the serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than for mass discount retailers. One that could take the abuse we knew we'd put it through, out in the field and on the water. One that simply wouldn't break. We decided early on that production innovation would come from necessity and first-hand experience, not from market research and data analysis. Today, Yeti products perform when it matters most. Whether that be an excursion into the remote Alaskan wilderness, chasing redfish on the Gold Coast, or just getting together with friends in the backyard, we make gear that helps you stay out longer, travel farther, and live harder. # built for the wild.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our AFC preview show. We were just talking extensively about the AFC East because there's so much to talk about. And now we get to talk about the championship division of the AFC West with the Kansas City Chiefs and the 3 other teams that play there. I am going to start off with the Broncos because we have a really strong Broncos fan here. Broncos writer Keith is going to kick us off. And then I'm going to end with the Raiders just to make it fun and keep us excited and keep everybody watching. So Keith, Bo Nix, name the starter. We're all surprised, not surprised. Were you surprised with that?
Not surprised. I mean, his competition is Jared Stidham and Zach Wilson. So even when they released that depth chart with him as number 3, I don't know why people were so upset about it. When they drafted Bo Nix, we all know Bo Nix would be the starter on day 1.
And are you happy about that?
Here's my problem with Bo Nix.
Okay.
I think Bo Nix has every tool in the book to be a franchise quarterback. They've gone crazy here in Denver. I've seen comparisons of him to Patrick Mahomes. They're saying that he's going to be the best quarterback in his draft as if Caleb Williams doesn't exist. It's just too much. It's too much. So, I mean, I have 2 thoughts on it. I think, for one, with what the quarterback situation has been here in Denver since PFM left, it's been terrible. I like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson definitely had his faults, but Russell Wilson was not who Sean Payton wanted at quarterback. It just was never going to work. He could say what he wanted about his abilities, but Sean Payton never really wanted to work with Russell Wilson, and that's what it was in the end. What is good for Bo Nix is that he is similar to the quarterback that was most successful with Sean Payton. That's Drew Brees. So I actually looked it up before the show and seeing how similar they are together. So in Bo Nix's college career, he averaged 11.9 yards per completion, 7.9 yards per attempt. Drew Brees throughout his career averaged 11.3 yards per completion, 7.6 yards per attempt. Almost mirror images of each other. Bo Nix, what he has going for him versus Russell Wilson is that he much better fits the offense that Sean Payton wants to run. That being said, you still have a lot of questions at receiver. Cortland Sutton still goes in as the best receiver. It helps that you have the chemistry with Troy Franklin, but they lost Lord Cushenberry at the center position. They lost Jersey Joel. They lost Justin Simmons on the defensive end. I think there's far too many questions still remaining on this team for the Denver sports fans to be excited as they are.
Monty, you can go. As a Duck fan, I'm going to give you the stage here.
Okay, so a couple things. When Bo Nix was at Auburn, he was always a playmaker, but he was a turnover machine, especially in big spots. 3rd and 15, he'd try to force something in, he'd turn it over. When he got to the Ducks, he became Mr. Efficient. Completion percentage, turnover to interception ratio was phenomenal. Preseason, 23 for 30, 205 yards, 121 pass rating. Now, look, they play basic defense in preseason. But I will disagree with Keith on one thing. He is Drew Brees. But what used to drive me crazy about Sean Payton is Drew Brees would be in a rhythm and he would take him out for Taysom Hill. Bo Nix can do both things. He is exactly what Sean Payton has wanted. A dual threat quarterback who can throw for accuracy, who can scramble. And one of the things that people don't realize, because no one watches the Pac-12 on the East Coast, is that Bo Nix was he just matured so much. He was a film rat, a gym rat, lived in the gym, lived in the film room. They said they gave Bo Nix the playbook in Denver, and he got it like that. He's what Sean Payton has always wanted, a dual threat. He doesn't have to take him out for a running quarterback. I think that Caleb Williams will be the rookie of the year, but I think Bo Nix is going to shock a lot of people, and he'll be in contention for that conversation. He's matured, he's grown, and he's around an offensive-minded coach who loves his style of play.
Monty, listen, I'm going to show how much I've grown. As a person who lives on the East, I was excited to watch both Bo Nix and Michael Penix.
I like that.
I'm just throwing that out there, right? And listen, while Mike did manage to nix Bo, I'm not going to nix Bo Nix myself. I think he has somewhere to grow. Keith says somewhere to grow. I thought I stuttered, but yeah, I mean to actually say that here in this case. Keith's right that maybe their offense needs a lot more work. This is what happens when you're trying to reboot Nathaniel Hackett, who the Jets had the audacity to hand the trophy to after they beat Denver, as the guy who set the fire to the orphanage that's being torn down and rebuilt by Sean Payton right now, okay? That all being said, we can blame Russell Carrington Wilson all you want. You shouldn't. There's still a lot of things that needs to be rebuilt by way of what Sean Payton's doing. And the franchise, they're not looking to do anything real big this year. They're doing what they can to keep Patrick Surtain, the younger, in the building so they can build a defense around him. And Bo Nix being in the building, which, by the way, say what you will about cutting Drew Brees' momentum. I think you have something there, Monte. But the thing is, Drew Brees was also about 95 years old at the time that happened. Bo Nix is real young still and can do plenty of athletic things that you have to do as an NFL quarterback nowadays. So, yeah, listen, I'm not going to nix Bo. I'm all in on this. I think it's a good decision. It might be the least surprising thing that happens in this offseason, him getting named the starter.
The one thing I think people lose sight of with Bo Nix, and I'm not knocking him for how long he played in college football, but when you say he's the most pro-ready college football quarterback coming out, and he played 47 years in college football, I certainly hope that he is so ready to be playing football. And see, it always comes off like I don't like Bo Nix. That is not the case. I'm excited for the potential that Bo Nix has coming to the Broncos. They just got to tamper it down. The rhetoric on Broncos Twitter is just crazy surrounding Bo Nix, and what I fear for Bo Nix is that they're going to do what they've done with every Broncos quarterback, including Peyton Manning. The year they won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, halfway through the first half of the season, they were ready to throw Peyton Manning out of Denver, and they won the Super Bowl. Not because of Peyton Manning, because the defense was really good, but they don't win the Super Bowl without Peyton Manning either. They like the quarterback when he's good. The second he is not to their level or standard, they'll run him out of town just like they've done every single quarterback since Peyton Manning.
I'm not going to say Bo Nix is old, but I think he does have 2 grandchildren. So we're going to have to look into that. So
nobody cared when it was Brock Purdy that was getting a starting job because he started forever at Iowa State. I'm just throwing it out.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Bo matured and got better when he went. Brock Purdy was a turnover machine and did way too many mistakes at Iowa State. Bo Nix really limited them when he was in Oregon.
Yes.
So with this offense, do you think Bo Nix will find success? Do you think the Denver Broncos can create a good chemistry, have a good momentum, and be better than the black and silver team? Because I think that's like the one that's the worst. What are your thoughts, Steve?
I think because you got Sean Payton. I think he can coach it up. I think Bo Nix being the starter is really good too. I think that is a good decision on their part because, again, that quarterback competition this summer probably wasn't great with Stidham and Zach Wilson. Obviously, you want that hype with Bo Nix as the draft pick. You want him in there. You want him to, show him what he can do. And again, with Sean Payton there, I think he can definitely coach up that offense, and they could probably do something, definitely.
All right, who's your favorite person in this offensive core? Kyle, you're the spotlight, so let's ask you.
I mean, listen, the guys I followed on offense for the most part aren't there anymore. Like, I covered Jerry Jeudy at a Orange Bowl, not Orange Bowl, sorry, Citrus Bowl, Orange Bowl. But I mean, even he at this point, call me biased if you want, and maybe Bo Nix has inspired me to grow just like he's inspired Monty to grow. I'm really curious to see what Bo Nix does with Sean Payton. That's where I'm at,
I just want to add, just because everyone's been giving Bo Nix the positive, review that he probably deserved. I'm not as confident in Bo Nix as a lot of people are. And the reason is, everyone's talking about his efficiency at Oregon. Well, it's real easy to be efficient when Tej Johnson and Troy Franklin are giving you 5 yards of separation from the nearest defensive back. I mean, if I can ask all the people who follow Oregon, what is his signature victory at the University of Oregon? It wasn't against Washington. It wasn't in the Pac-12 championship. They lost up in that wasn't necessarily his fault, but they lost up in Corvallis against Oregon State. I mean, what is that signature win, or what is that signature moment, or anything? Quite frankly, if I look back at Bo Nix's career, his top wins is the Alabama game in the Iron Bowl. I think they beat Penn State one time, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be. No, actually, I might be wrong about that. I think they lost to Penn State. Regardless, Bo Nix has a lot of issues, and I got a chance to watch him live, and sometimes he makes very poor decisions. He doesn't put the ball where it needs to be in situations where he should, and he makes simple things a bit overcomplicated. With that being said, no matter who you have at quarterback for Denver, it doesn't really matter. It's because Denver, as an organization right now, obviously is going through a massive rebuild, but Sean Payton is a big, egotistical coach who has a my way or the highway that has not helped but actually hurt the Saints after the Super Bowl run. If we look at the Saints after they won the Super Bowl, there have been a multitude of failures, and you can point at all of them directly straight to Sean Payton. There is no reason in the world, and everyone wants to bring up the PI that wasn't called against the Rams, but they had the ball in overtime, and they had the punt. So if you look at the Saints organization... Oh, sorry, what's up?
No, I was supporting you on that, Brock. No one else wants to talk about that, how they had to win that game long before that and blew it.
Exactly. And let's not forget that they had a massive lead over the Rams before that moment either. And then you know who Kirk Cousins' only playoff victory is against? Sean Payton in New Orleans. So if we look back, it doesn't matter who the quarterback for the Broncos is. It's the fact that Sean Payton doesn't know how to build a team. He doesn't know how to coach a team in the big moments. And he has been overrated as his offensive guru, when I agree with what Bart Scott said several years ago. He's basically Mike McCarthy 2.0. He just gets overhyped for some unknown reason. So everyone wants to say, let's see what he does with Sean Payton. Well, Sean Payton has done good things with quarterbacks, but from a team dynamic, I don't see it.
Brock,
Can I just
real quick, Monty, let me get in. Brock, because I'm the student of the game and I like to learn things. My understanding was that win you mentioned by Kirk Cousins wasn't Kirk Cousins, but Case Keenum at the time, was it not?
No, it was Kyle Rudolph in the end zone for the game winner. But then he also lost to Case Keenum in the Minneapolis Miracle as well.
See, I got confused which game you were talking about. We good? Okay, carry on.
No, twice, 2 times to the Vikings, you lose. Like, I mean, how does that? Doesn't Sean Payton have like 3 straight playoff losses that lost on the final play of the game because his team couldn't get the job done? Like, I'm sorry, if you are this elite coach, what's the excuse? You've been to 2-3 NFC Championship games, but only 1 after the Super Bowl. You've been back to 0 Super Bowls. You had one of the most elite wide receivers in the NFL, Michael Thomas, and did jack nothing with him in the playoffs that year. You had one of the most elite quarterbacks in the NFL in Drew Brees. And all the big moments in NFL playoff history in the NFC, Sean Payton is on the losing side of them, right? Seattle Beastquake. You had Alex Smith in the game-winning touch and the game-winning drive in San Francisco. You had this, Minnesota Miracle. You had Kirk Cousins winning in overtime. You had this, and this. So my question is, everyone wants to blame other people. When does the blame fall on Sean Payton? When does the blame go to him by saying that, hey, defensively, his team's let up badly in the playoffs. and then you're trying to bring him into the Denver Broncos organization that is going through a massive rebuild in itself, and there might be differential opinions between head coach and general manager, and now you're bringing a young quarterback into the situation. I think Bo Nix is screwed before he even has an opportunity to actually develop.
I got to rebut this. Listen, Brock. Brock does a great job of covering college football, and he knows. But Brock, you said something that I have to disagree with. Signature wins. Peyton Manning never beat Florida. Jameis Winston won a national championship. So did Matt Leinart. Signature wins. They were terrible. Drew Brees never won a national championship. Eli Manning never won a national championship. One of the biggest overhyped players of all time, Johnny Manziel, beat Alabama. Signature win. He wasn't ready for the NFL. You said that Bo Nix makes bad decisions. His completion percentage and his turnovers was one of the best in the last 2 years when he played for Oregon. So I don't buy that quarterbacks don't have significant signature wins in college. When you see Jameis Winston winning a national championship and being terrible, when you see Matt Leinart winning a national championship being terrible. Again, Peyton Manning never beat Florida. He's one of the top 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah, but to counter that point, it also took Peyton Manning 7 years to win a playoff. And also, may I just add in there, it's real easy to have a high completion percentage with, once again, Tej Johnson, Bucky Irving, Troy Franklin. They're all getting 5-6 yards of separation. You have one of the best offensive coordinators, in all of college football. But then I look at the Pac-12 championship game, right? He didn't have a great start to the game. Hey, it happens, no problem. Your defense gets a massive turnover, RIP Tyree Jackson, but Tyree Jackson picks off Michael Penix Jr., you get the ball, you score a touchdown, you take the lead. What does he do? He fires a dot to Jabbar Muhammad, defensive back from Washington. And
they got thoroughly outcoached in that game because they played Washington prior and they made no adjustments, and they were like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting off base here, everyone. Reel it in.
This has been an argument that's been going on for 3 years between me and Monty. And it's just,
I know. That's why I was like, I'm going to let you be for 10 seconds, and then I was like about to reel it in. Okay.
I was about to say, Ash, they can come on the student of the game. We can have this debate. Something out there.
I have some players I'm excited about.
That was my follow-up, Keith. It's like you're there. What is something that Broncos fans can look forward to, and what players? Let me know, Keith.
Given the type of offense that Sean Payton likes to run, if you want to throw all the blame on Russell Wilson, he deserves his fair share of blame. I don't think he deserves all of it. There's nothing holding Sean Payton back from unleashing Marvin Mims Jr. and Jaleel McLaughlin, which I was begging him to do all of last season. So if you want to say Russ was the issue there, say Russ was the issue. If he doesn't unleash those two, then that's on Sean Payton.
That's it? That's all you had to say?
Can I add just one quick sentence?
No, okay, go ahead, Brock.
All right. Sean Payton is the coaching version of Aaron Rodgers.
It's a good point. He's got one Super Bowl. It's a good point.
I will also
notice no matter where they go, they always bring in their own guys.
I will augment that with this. I still think Sean Payton is a great coach, but if he cannot get it done with Drew Brees Jr., is exactly who Bo Nix is, then you would have to say his success came from Drew Brees, not from Sean Payton. So he has to make it work with Bo Nix for his legacy to be legitimately considered as one of the best offensive minds.
All right, so follow up on that. How much pressure then is on this duo to be successful? And what does success look like, right, for that to not jeopardize Sean Payton's career?
If they win 6 games, they're good. That's how bad the last few seasons were in Denver. They wanted to see them win more games than last season. People thinking they're going to win or go to the playoffs are losing their minds. That's not happening. They just want them to at least look competitive. Whether they're actually competitive or not, I don't think they really care. They just have to look and appear to be competitive.
Okay. Anyone else? Brock or Monty? Because this is your battle.
No, I think all
win 7 games. That's a successful season.
Yeah. Also, Monty, just a heads up, Drew Brees did win big games in college. He won a Big Ten championship with Purdue.
I was just about to say, you guys shook your hands and made up with your one-liner, and then you had to throw one more bit in there, Brock.
I mean, the Pac-12 is a far. I'll take over for Monty on this one. The Pac-12 is a far better conference this year than the Big Ten was back then. I'm just going to throw that out. Notice my.
I mean, I think everyone was watching the Pac-12 this year. Not only because of their final year. Yeah.
And they broke up.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
When you made that point about Sean Payton not good without Drew Brees, I was thinking about Belichick. Like, he's nothing without Brady, but I didn't want to talk about
you and Amy in the comments, same thing.
So, here we go. So Belichick all over again. It is kind of right. Peyton and Belichick are best friends, so it would be kind of, if Peyton doesn't win, it's kind of like he only won because of Breeze. If Belichick doesn't win again, it's because he only won because of Brady, which is true at the moment.
To be fair to Peyton, he did have success with Teddy Bridgewater, and those 5 weeks with Jameis was a fever dream. It was incredible until he
I mean, and you could say the same thing about Andy Reid. I know we'll probably get to it, but if he didn't get Patrick Mahomes, he would have only had no Super Bowls. So
very true. Very true.
It's crazy.
Let's roll from one duck to the next. We're going to talk about the Chargers. And, sorry. I'm curious, Justin Herbert possibly injured. There's entire new offense here. They got a new coach, Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert. Are they going to be one of the new duos of the league? First question. And then second question, how successful can the Chargers hope to be if Justin Herbert is injured for the first couple games of the season? So first question, I'll let Kyle go ahead.
You would come to the offensive lineman to and rightly so. Listen, if there was a time you should be happier to have a more run-oriented offense in the NFL, it's when Justin Herbert is hurt for the LA Chargers. Like at this point, listen, granted, I know that the issues for the Chargers are mostly self-inflicted wounds. And listen, say what you will about Jim Harbaugh. I happen to love hamburgers, so I don't have a problem with anything he's done. But the punchline is this. At the end of the day, that Staley coaching staff was the problem to me, and it had been for a while, and they finally got around to catching up to me again, just like with Zach Wilson. The whole other thing is this, though, folks. With all of the above in mind, I feel like, and granted, I'm not here to say that the Charger quarterback room beyond Herbert is world-beating, but the opportunity for him to get his line up to speed and get them run blocking and doing that sort of thing, the kind of stuff he did in San Francisco, by the way, when they were successful, would be fascinating to see. Do I think they have enough to make that happen? No. Do I think this is a devastating blow early in the season? Yes. But once Justin Herbert returns and he's asked to carry the load more like J.J. McCarthy was, not that little, mind you, but a lot less than he was in the past where it was all chuck and pray, I really think the Chargers have an opportunity to have a better season. Fortunately, they are having to play the Chiefs twice. That's a rough go.
Monty.
Okay, so on the Full Monty Sports Show and Brandon Staley's first year, I said in week 3 to Brad Ward, and I've said it probably every week, I said he should be fired. And our good friend Brad Ward said to me, Monty, it's week 3, he's a rookie. I'm like, this guy's over his skis. He has no idea. He's an offensive-minded coach, and he has no idea how to do clock management. Like when you come, if you're a defensive coach coordinator, and then you become the head coach, your defense should know what they're doing. Brandon Staley was terrible. Now, with that said, everywhere Jim Harbaugh goes, he wins. He turns a program around right away. He did it everywhere he's coached. Took him a while, and this is how crazy fans were. They wanted to fire him at Michigan because he couldn't beat Ohio State. The same reason Les Miles got fired out of LSU because he couldn't beat Alabama. That's why he got fired. Jim Harbaugh finally wins a national championship, and now he's back in the NFL with the Chargers. I think it's going to be a very good season for them. I think if you're going to get Harbaugh, you better get him now. Remember what Danny Hurley said a few years ago when he was the coach of UConn? If you're going to get me, you better get me this year because we're coming. Harbaugh will be fiery. He's going to be controversial. He's going to piss some guys off. He's got a little Bill Belichick in him the way he coaches, that old school mentality, but he's a proven winner. And I think if you're a Charger fan, you finally have a competent coach, and just enjoy this year because this is going to be the worst over the next 5 years.
Okay, following up with that for Monty, they like to run the ball a lot. Jim Harbaugh has a run offense. He likes that. What do you believe is going to be possible with the old Raven squad in J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards? Do you think he's going to find success with that?
Yes, I will, because, people think that the San Francisco 49ers with Shanahan, they have all these wide receivers, they have Kittle. But everything's predicated on the run blocking scheme. Harbaugh is the same way. He's a ground and pound coach. And I think this is going to help Justin Herbert with play action. I think after this year, once they get, they obviously lost their top 3 offensive weapons in Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler. So he brings in guys who kind of fit his system. And look, there may be times where they control the ball for 40, 38 minutes in a game. That's what he wants to do. He wants to wear you down in the fourth quarter. Again, everywhere this guy has won, Joe loved life last year when Michigan finally won a title. But let's remember, he won 13 games with Alex Smith and then benched him and brings in Colin Kaepernick, and they wound up going to the Super Bowl. So whatever style he has, it's always about running, and he's going to be successful, and they're going to be successful running the ball.
Let's give him a little credit. Alex Smith got hurt. He just never got his job back. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
He got fired on his day off.
Yeah, exactly.
How you get fired on your day off?
I will say this about Harbaugh to the Chargers. If there's going to be any team that's a threat to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm just going to say that as a big if because I don't think there's going to be any team that's a threat to the Kansas City Chiefs, it's got to be the Chargers. They did pick up 2 good backs in Dobbins and Edwards. This season is really going to hurt losing Eckler, Allen, and Williams in the same season. But as Monty said, all those Harbaugh does know how to do is win. I mean, maybe the Ravens don't have as many Super Bowls under John Harbaugh, but I mean, they took an unpolished product in Lamar Jackson. You can talk about his playoff record all you want, but he was an unpolished product coming out of Louisville, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. You saw what Jim Harbaugh did with Colin Kaepernick. And I would argue that Justin Herbert is – I'm going to say it. Justin Herbert is a better quarterback than Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith. So if they can continue to put those pieces together, I think they have a good shot at challenging Kansas City, just because the key to beating Kansas City is keeping the ball out of their hand, and they're the best equipped to do that in the near future at least.
Follow up to that, with what defense?
I said coming up in the next few years.
Okay, good. I was just like, hold on. I think we've seen what happened with the Chargers defense as of
Yeah,
late.
see, that's why they got to run the ball. If they can keep the defense on the field just 4 or 5 minutes a game, they should be good.
Yeah, I just like to add, I think that it's a significantly better defense this year. I mean, Brandon Staley's system was way too complicated than it needed to be. And when we saw them go into a more simple system after Staley got fired, they had a tremendous amount of more success after that. Then you bring in Jesse Minter, who's one of the more premier defensive minds in the NFL. Let's not act like he wasn't learning under Mike McDonald, and now Mike McDonald's with the Seahawks. So you still have Derwin James. You have 2 elite pass rushers with Bosa and Matt. And then you add to that with Tuli Pelotu, and then also Bud Dupree, who they can put in different packages. I think that you're going to see a much more consistent defense than anything else. I think you're going to see one of those old 49ers teams that have been mentioned, especially since Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator. And I think this probably will be Justin Herbert's worst year statistically due to his injury and then due to this new offense. But I think from a team standpoint, this is a team that I think will have a winning record. I'm not too sure if they make the playoffs, but they might be 1 or 2 games away. And with the NFL, you never know how things shake out. So I think the Chargers are in a lot better position than we might think they may be.
Their defense has talent.
I agree with that.
Their defense has talent.
I'll make one more point about the Chargers, and it is addition by subtraction. The 2 things that hurt the Chargers most in the Staley era was he went for the ball, or he went for a fourth down
Oh God.
inside his own 30.
Oh God.
And then the Raiders are trying to run out the clock so both
Oh,
teams
my
can get in the
goodness.
playoffs. And Staley calls a timeout and lets them continue to drive down the field to win the game and knock them out of the playoffs. I wanted to say, okay, he has some growing pains, but those two decisions right there were as bad as any decisions I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Steve, I'll let you close out.
So Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers is a great fit for them. I think the Chargers are a up and coming team with Justin Herbert. Honestly, Brandon Staley wasn't the right fit for them. Obviously, he made some dumb calls, dumb coaching decisions, but I think Jim will bring that fiery edge like we said tonight. And I think the Chargers are could probably be up and coming with and they'll give the Chiefs the run for their money, absolutely, with Jim on them.
As a Justin Herbert fan, I hope everyone is right. I don't care that the Raiders are in the division. Tell my dad he can watch this and learn. I'm still rooting for Justin Herbert no matter what.
So if you got Justin Herbert, who's got it better than you? Nobody. Oh, wait. Sorry. Wrong guy. I got mixed up.
All right. Segue into the Raiders. I don't even know where to start because I have so many emotions. If you watch the Tuesday show, I was pretty upset with wrong graphic, with the Minshew magic that is said to come for Raider Nation. What is everyone's thoughts on Gardner Minshew?
Who's the quarterbacks in next year's draft?
No. We just said it with New England, right? Okay, look at the division. Yep. Look at that. You have an up and coming Bo Nix. Question still out. You have the greatest quarterback maybe ever in Patrick Mahomes. You have Justin Herbert, who, let's be honest, by next year should be a perennial all-star under Harbaugh. And you're going with Gardner Minshew. That's really? What do you just got a brand new arena. You've been there less than 5 years, and this is what you're selling me? Gardner Minshew, the guy who looks like Dwight Goodman from Dodgeball? This is what we're going with. And this is no disrespect to Minshew. He's a great backup. But when you look at the quarterbacks in that division, when you look at the coaching in that division, this is what we're going with? As a Raider fan, how can you be excited about a new franchise that just moved there? They got a beautiful stadium, and I guarantee you when Kansas City goes there, Denver, maybe not the Chargers because the Charger fans are the worst, you're going to have mostly Denver and Kansas City Chiefs fans there. What are we doing, Raiders? What are we doing?
I feel sorry for Devontae Adams.
That's all I was going to say.
He went from playing with Aaron Rodgers to playing with his buddy and Derek Carr. This is a quarterback room for the Raiders right now. Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, Carter Bradley. Here's the kicker. This is going to make a difference. Nathan Peterman.
Wow.
That's their quarterback room right now.
Nice.
I have no idea what they're doing. It makes no sense.
Actually, was Carr that bad? Was Carr that bad, Keith? I don't remember. Was he that bad?
He was better than what they have there right now.
I wish I could swallow all of the words I used to say about Derek Carr, all the negative comments I used to say here on Moving the Chains, on all my platforms. I was a Carr hater, and I will admit that. But it was not him that was the problem. It was the rest of the front office, right? They just were not giving him the ways to be successful for this team. And now we're fighting about Minshew or AOC. Like, how did we get here? How did we get here? With the number one, top 5 wide receiver in the league, fighting for the chance to get the ball. Last year, Jimmy G's throwing him hospital balls, just worrying us about Devontae's health. And now we've got Minshew, who's like 50% great, 50% turnover rate is annoying. So
you know who Derek Carr was? Derek Carr was that Warrior girl who's a solid 8. You know what? I can do better. We're gonna move on, and then you just end up getting the well-drank midnight at the bar, last call quarterbacks of the league.
And wow. Minshew's what? He's Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Nope.
I mean,
I'll take Fitzpatrick any day.
I mean, really, if you take Fitzpatrick's beard and you put it into the mullet, you might have something there, Monty. By the way, you mentioned that beautiful stadium. It's a good thing it's called the Black Hole. That's where all the talent gets sucked into, apparently, and then nothing comes out the other end, okay? That's where they're at right now. Listen, The best thing about the Raiders is going to find the video of Gardner Minshew working out to Creed's "Can You Take Me Higher?" That is fun.
That's funny.
I think you guys' evaluation of Derek Carr is a bit generous. I was like to clarify, I do cover the Raiders, but I'm definitely not a Raiders fan. But I
Okay,
do
you don't have to lie here.
Derek Carr is Vinny Testaverde. I'm sorry. He is. Derek Carr is
He's
Vinny
better
Testaverde
than what they
with
have now.
more faith in the Lord. Is that a good thing? Like, I'm driving a 1990 Acura. That's better than my 1910 Ford T model. Like, who cares? If you can't win, you can't win. I mean, he proved he can't win. Last thing I gotta say before I get out of here is that it's a building process. There was no good quarterbacks available in the draft by the time they picked. There was no good quarterbacks available on the market. So why put yourself in a Mike Glennon-esque situation where you're paying $72 million to a scrub when you can just wait a year and get a premier quarterback? I think the Raiders played this perfectly. I think it's a good year for Antonio Pierce to establish that true Raiders culture that's been missing since Al Davis passed away. And I think that the Raiders are going to do a lot more than you might expect on the defense side of the ball. But again, growing year, establish the culture, and then next year load up, lock in, and fire away.
Then draft
Brock,
Shedeur
can I
Sanders
just ask
and
this
disappoint
question?
everybody.
Brock, can I ask this question? Okay, so, the Knicks are owned by James Dolan. He's always going to make the wrong decision. You say lock in and load up for next year. In what world do you give the Davis family the benefit of the doubt that they're going to pick the right person?
I think it's Pierce's way of the highway. If it's not that way, then it's going to be a wrap no matter what. So you just got to believe that Pierce is the head man in charge. And Telesco and Davis are just the little boys in the back, just clapping whenever the draft pick gets made.
You say get the Al Davis culture back. I don't know if I want that back. Al Davis culture is, I don't care how many drugs you sell, just how fast is your 40.
That's the Kansas City Chiefs culture. That's the Georgia Bulldog culture. And they're winning championships. Wow. It doesn't matter. As long as you don't bet on games, it's all good.
Do what you need.
Do what you need.
Do what you need to win.
It's not a crime unless you get convicted.
It ain't cheating if you don't get caught. Right, yeah, just ask Belichick.
Right. Or you know what you could do? Minshew, you could always get Brady from upstairs, who owns the Raiders, to come down and play quarterback.
Brady is one hit away from being in a wheelchair. What are you talking about?
Yeah, he is fragile.
Saw Dallas eliminate.
No, he's not coming back. He's not coming back.
No.
Listen, read the room. Steve was joking, dude. Yo, that was a troll. It's okay.
So people don't think it's a joke, though. So you gotta let
That's because people are looking for anyone else to play under center that's not Gardner.
Can we give back Stark some love there on the defensive line? There's a man I feel sorry for, too. He rips heads off, only for the offense to force him back on the field, man. Let's give him a little love, too, please. Somebody
Can I ask this question? Seriously, this is a serious question now that Brady's going to be in the booth and he has stake in the franchise. What's a more baller move? Brady winning all those Super Bowls, or the fact that he just got divorced and when they went to court, his ex-wife realized that every property he owned is under his mom's name, so she couldn't get anything. What's the bigger baller move there? Did you guys hear about that story? Did you hear about that story?
I think you know the answer, Monty. That's why you asked.
So I think I need to hire his legal team is what I need. I need his financial advisor ASAP.
For sure.
Cat Williams once says he's not a pimp because he puts women on the street. He's a pimp because he thinks pimp. He thinks pimp, therefore he is. And that's what Tom Brady did. He absolutely played his ex-wife. Yeah, and it is absolutely beautiful. And maybe I'm just bitter because I'm divorced as well, but I tuto Tom Brady.
I missed that in Rene Descartes' philosophical readings, man. My bad. I think, therefore I am. I pimp, therefore I am.
Baller move, man. She had no idea.
Okay, I guess my follow-up question is where do you rank the Raiders defense this season?
Top 12 to 15. I think they could be better than people think. But the problem is, and this is what happened to the Jets last year, the second half of the year, if your offense isn't doing anything like the Jets weren't last year, the defense gets frustrated. So it's going to be very challenging for Pierce to keep them focused and have them to keep going.
That's a great take, Monty. I would only add this. It's not just that the offense won't do anything. They'll make mistakes and throw turnovers, and the defense, they'll have the stats of a bottom 20. But yeah, I'm with you there. I think they should be in the upper middle half of the league, especially up front with Max mauling people the way that he does.
Yeah, I think what it's going to end up being is Max Crosby is ridiculously good, but they're going to ask so much of him throughout the season that you're playing 17 games now in the NFL. He simply is just going to run out of gas. I mean, unless they make some trades in the season to have someone come in and help him, he can't do it all. That's what it boils down to.
All right, last question. Go ahead.
It's got to be, as a Raider fan, you got to love the fact that they moved there because it should be a great place for free agents to go, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think it's a little devil's advocate location because it's a dirty place to be if you're in the off season. Okay, you're partying all summer, you're meeting women everywhere, right? There's pros and cons to being in Vegas.
That's why I thought they'd have the best home advantage because teams come in Friday night and they want to party like crazy and they're so hungover Sunday morning.
Yeah, you would think it would have that Houston effect like it does in the NBA, but it's
the Houston effect, Atlantic effect with Magic City.
Yeah,
they don't have it.
They don't have it.
You got to get some lemon pepper wings. That's what it is.
I think it has to do with the lack of offense, right? You're not going to go there and watch Max Crosby day in and day out, and you're still down 21-3, and you've only made field goals every single game. It's just exhausting to root for them. So
I'll tell you what it really is. They look up in the stands, they see Martin Davis's haircut, and they say, "We got no shot."
Dutch boy. If you're over 7 years old, you should never have that haircut. And I'm bald, and I'm saying that.
I think last but not least, we can leave the Raiders alone now. I think I can't talk about them anymore. We'll talk about the back-to-back champs, the Chiefs. And the first question is, the question of everyone's thoughts is, are the Chiefs capable of a three-peat?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Why wouldn't they be? Their defense was young last year, and they carried them from like week 6 to week 14. You have probably the best quarterback, and it's always hard for teams to repeat. Tom Brady always used to talk about this, how the hunger just wears you down, the intensity every day. But now Andy Reid has motivation. No one has ever done this in the history of the NFL, right? And Patrick Mahomes, we don't know if he's in his prime yet. He might not be there. So I think the Chiefs, until they lose, I'm counting them to win the Super Bowl. I know that's boring. I know it's not sexy, but how do you count them out?
See, Monty,
right. How can you count them out?
Yeah, I hate that it's boring but pure greatness is what this is. This isn't stiff Tom Brady check down bubble screen defense win Super Bowls, and then the one time they have a flashy offense, they lose to the Giants. This ain't that. This is a fun group to watch. Tom Brady never threw a pass behind his back. This group is great. And by the way, if you like beef like I do, a dude that I interviewed while he was wearing Crocs, their center, Creed Humphrey, just signed a big deal.
Love him.
Such a great dude. And somebody out there respects that interior line is probably one of the most underrated in the NFL, without question. Hey, listen, as a guy who covers the Jags and regularly sees questionable interior line play, I wish I was covering that. I'm grateful the opportunity I had to interview Creed Humphrey. It was awesome. That all being said, their defense, same thing. You got Chris Jones and a lot of dogs up front there too. And the thing is, and you mentioned their youth, Monty, I asked Andy Reid about his approach to developing DBs in Phoenix when they were about to face the Eagles. Throughout the year and in practice, he says, we have guys try things. When they get on the field, we let them apply those things that they've tried, even as 5th and 7th round picks, right? And then they make impacts. They had a 5th and 7th round pick make turnovers in that same postseason that I mentioned on the way to facing the Eagles. That is what balance is. Everybody can talk about you need a quarterback, you need this, you need to manage your roster. You need balance. You need to be like Bill Murray. Bill Murray was never the funniest comedian in Hollywood or in the entertainment industry, but he was always pretty regularly top 5. And that's how you repeat in the NFL.
All right, let's pull this question up. Greg and I agreed that the Houston Texans are capable of beating Kansas City. Do you all agree, yes or no?
I'm gonna say no. And now that I have this platform, I want to talk about something really serious right now. As a Broncos fan that has to see Patrick Mahomes twice a year, look at my face and hear my words here. Please stop talking shit about Patrick Mahomes. It is not helpful. It angers me because he's already good, and they're giving him more motivation. It frustrates me, especially from the Raiders. Like, why are you talking shit about the guy who's
puppet? Who told you to bring that out?
It's the dumbest thing you could ever do. That's like telling my kids she can watch Coco Melon and then trying to take it away. She's gonna be mad, and I'm gonna have to deal with that. And I'm just tired of it. But I do think Houston has another young team that has a potential to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But it's the same thing I've said about the Chiefs the past 6 years. Until someone can consistently do it, I'm still picking the Chiefs. How many AFC Championship games have they been to now in a row? I don't think Patrick Mahomes has missed an AFC Championship game outside his first season or two.
It's since 2001 because they did get eliminated by the Bengals in the divisional round.
That's correct. That's correct.
I'm sorry, 2021. Sorry.
2021. Outside of that, they're the most consistent team in AFC. They're arguably the most consistent team in the whole NFL. I agree with Monty. I think Mahomes can still get better. If he stays healthy, without question, he's going to be the best quarterback in league history. Health is an issue. You can't say for sure what's going to happen there, but just seeing what that guy does on the field, not only because I get to see him play the Broncos twice a year, but because they're AFC West, I see a lot of Chiefs games as well. It really makes me sick to my stomach because it's just like longing to have him want to play here. It's just maddening how good he is and having to see what he can do versus the last decade of crap that the Broncos have had.
And look, they may have the best defensive coordinator in the NFL. You know, he goes unnoticed because it's all flash with Kelsey and they're having a party in the box with Taylor Swift, which is great, whatever. But, like, their defense was on point last year, and it's young. It's what you want because you could get some guys who are still under contract. But their defense really saved their season when their offense was struggling midway through.
And it's not just their defense either. There's one person that gets talked about very rarely, and it's probably, in my opinion, the most important person on the Chiefs offense, Isaiah Pacheco. He is an absolute monster. He helps the Chiefs, and one thing they've sucked at, and that's short yardage situations. So
Andy Reid has sucked at that in his entire career.
Like it's always been a running joke that you want the Chiefs to be in 3rd and 1 instead of 3rd and 25 because they're probably going to convert on 3rd and 25. But you can't say that anymore because Isaiah Pacheco runs like someone slapped his mama. Like you can't stop that guy with just one person.
Remember when Clyde Edwards-Helaire was like the big fantasy guy, and then Pacheco comes in and you just forget about him.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs are winning this division. I'm not going to pick anyone else. I think they have to be the favorite to come out of the AFC. They may not do it going away like they used to. They kind of struggled last year, but they play the best football when it matters, and that's what wins Super Bowls.
All right, I'm going to ask Steve, what's one bad thing to say about the Chiefs before we close out?
It's really hard to say one bad thing because Mahomes is so good. Like I wanted to say, he does more with less, like Brady did. He's like, it's unbelievable. Like you got rid of Tyreek Hill, and he literally took a bunch of receivers that probably no one's ever heard of. I'm sorry. And he's literally won the Super Bowl back-to-back times. It's amazing. The guy is unbelievable what he can do. And honestly, it's really maybe the only bad thing is, I don't know, maybe the defense a little bit. But other than that, even Travis Kelce's really good. But I'm telling you right now, Patrick Mahomes is the real deal. They're going to three-peat. And that's, maybe the downside is maybe the defense a little bit. But other than that, if you got Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't matter how good the defense is because he's going to make plays.
Listen, Hollywood Brown could have a monster year if he's healthy.
Yeah, they got Hollywood Brown. They picked up Xavier Worthy as well. I mean, they still have Sky Moore, and then that other guy that is terrible. But, if they don't have to pass them the ball that much, have them drop it or line up off sides, then they could do a lot better with the receivers they have now.
Hey, if Chad Henne could come through in the clutch and help win a playoff game, I'm pretty sure Carson Wentz can do the same thing too. So let's
What a
make
great
sure.
call. What a great call by Andy Reid.
Yeah, but and listen, if we're going to go after anybody on this offense, it's the tackles. Okay, the offensive tackles are the weak point. And listen, as a guy who covered Jawan for a year in Jacksonville with what they were doing and stuff, he ain't it. He's not as good as his rest of his brethren. The thing is, Patrick LaVon Mahomes II, we forgot he can run like somebody slapped his mama. Okay, that's a whole thing. As a Niner fan, I've seen him do it in a Super Bowl twice. I respect your pain, Keith, but what about mine? Anyways, with all that inside, listen, I'm not going to call the defense a weakness. That's how they coped with Tyreek Hill being gone. And much like Brady needed good defenses a lot of times, and we don't talk about it, Pat had a good defense last year, and we don't talk enough about it. So, I mean, granted, I'm not here to say that he has Hall of Famers like the Patriots did in those days with Richard Seymour, Vince Wilfork, and those guys. But Chris Jones is very Wilfork-esque, and I feel that to my soul that he is a Hall of Famer on this defense. But yeah, the weak point is clearly the offensive tackles. If you could come in from the outside and force Patrick to make a decision that's rushed, you're in good shape. He has thrown picks. He did it in the Super Bowl. But the thing is, he's got a really short release time, much like one Peyton Manning or even Thomas Edward Patrick Bieber Brady II.
The thing is, you can't beat Jawan Taylor because he's got like a 4-second head start. So,
see, they're starting to catch on to that too, though. That's the thing.
All right,
I can think of something bad.
Yeah, go
Harrison
ahead.
Harrison Butker is probably the weirdest dude on the planet.
Oh yeah,
That dude is
weird.
so, even Patrick Mahomes says I never even talked to him.
I don't even talk to that
He's in
guy.
the locker room with me.
Nobody talks.
He's a strange dude.
Yeah, he is the one dull spot on the Chiefs. Which thanks for bringing that up, Monty.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, he makes his kicks. He just makes bad interviews.
And he got paid. Anyways, let's close out. We're at 1:40. I want to first thank everybody that's been on this show with us because we have talked so much football. It's been a wild ride. Thanks for everyone being here. And I want to hear your rankings for the AFC West. And I didn't do the East earlier, so we'll do that one after. Obviously, we're saying Chiefs won. So what's your 2, 3, 4?
it's going to sound hypocritical of me, but giving what's currently happening with the teams, obvious Chiefs won. You go down about the elevation of Mount Everest, then I think just because the team is healthiest at this point, you have to say the Broncos. That's not saying I think the Broncos are going to be good, but you lose all those weapons with the Chargers. Justin Herbert might be facing an injury. The Raiders are the Raiders. So I would go Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders.
All right, Kyle.
Even with Hollywood Brown being injured and probably missed a little bit of time early on, here's the thing. Vegas 4, LA Chargers 3, Broncos 2, but it is ironically the Chiefs that are a mile high above them.
Nice.
See what I did there, Keith?
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
All right, Monty.
Yeah, I think it's the same order. It's the Chiefs, it's the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Raiders. But I think the Chargers may be the best team in that division the second half of the year. So I'm actually going to go Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders win 3 games.
I'm agreeing with you. Steve, you can close it out.
All right, so I'm going to go with the Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, Chargers.
Perfect. All right, now let's hear your AFC East rankings, just because we didn't do that before.
Okay, I'm
Steve,
going to
you
go.
can go first.
Go ahead.
All right,
Okay.
so I was going to go with probably the Dolphins, the Jets, the Bills, the Patriots. Patriots are last.
That's okay. I think we all agree on the 4.
Yeah.
I got a hug for you, Steve, if you need it. I'm here for you, dude.
He's won enough Super Bowls.
I said
Yeah, he doesn't need
Brady.
one. Monty?
Okay, so I'm going with the Jets and the Dolphins going 11-6. I got the Bills winning 9 games, and I have the Patriots probably winning 2 or 3.
2 games. That's a tough season.
That's really good.
Keith?
I'm gonna go Dolphins, Jets, Bills, Patriots. Even though on paper the Bills should be better, but I think it's just gonna be so much of a struggle without Stephon Diggs.
And Kyle.
Listen, I'll be that guy to go along with it too. Dolphins, Bills, Jets. And listen, Monty, it sounds like I disagree with you with where you're at the talent level of the Jets. I just don't think Aaron Charles Rodgers is going to make the entire season. I'm guaranteed.
I agree.
Yeah. But
I said if he's healthy, they'll win 11. Yeah, I agree with you.
Exactly. And me, I'm so pessimistic. I'm not even throw the if. I'm going straight Kevin Durant. He's going to get hurt. Jets are third. Pats.
I really love the middle names you throw in for everyone. I think
you got to earn it though, Ash. You can't just be a guy. Aaron Charles Donald earned it at the defensive tackle spot, right? Travis Michael Kelsey earned it as a tight end. You know, that you got to earn that middle name designation. It's not.
No,
just
it's true. It really solidifies that they are that guy. That's why I'm paying tribute to it, because I think it's a good addition. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to all things Team NBS Media. We are also going to have.
Ashmia, what did you didn't pick the AFC East?
Oh, sorry.
I
agreed with. I think the two of you, Kyle and Monty. I forgot what you had. Dolphins.
Okay, who do you have?
You have the Jets second.
I'm going to say Dolphins, Jets, Bills, Patriots. Is that what both of you said, right?
If that's not what I said, that's what I meant to say. I'm pretty sure I said that.
Oh, okay. So we're all on the same page.
I have Jets at 3. That's where I'm different.
Yep.
Yeah, then we all got the same rankings. I love that. Yeah, like I said, be sure to follow everyone here on their social handles. I'll throw them up so you can get one last look at where everybody's at, where you can catch them. And we are going to have a NFL show, Moving the Chains. We'll be back with me, Joe, Jeff, and we're going to have surprise guests, probably this squad here. We're going to have betting included. We're going to be talking fantasy. We're going to be talking about just about everything that you care about when it comes to football. So we are excited. See everyone week 1. And be sure to like and subscribe all Team NBS Media. Thanks again, and have a great evening, everyone.